Hello, everybody, and welcome back to College Basketball Courtside, your home for everything college basketball related. Today, Monday's episode, December 1st, we're going to be doing the three biggest risers so far in college basketball and the three biggest fallers, the three teams whose stock is down after last week. Then, going to cover a very packed Tuesday slate, December 2nd. A lot of ranked games going on, a lot of big teams playing. So, going to cover all those games coming up right now. First, let's get straight into the three teams who are on the rise. Starting off first with Michigan. Last week they were 3-0. I covered them in my video yesterday about the Players Era Championship and just how dominant they have been. They were 3-0, 94 to 54 against San Diego State, 102 to 72 against number 21 Auburn, 101 to 61 against number 12 Gonzaga. Note that Gonzaga was first in KenPom at the time they played Gonzaga in the Players Area Championship game. Absolutely crushed them. Here are some key stats for them. According to Evan Mia, Yaxel Lendenborg is the second best player in the country and the number one defender, even over Joseph Tugler. That is super impressive. Shows Yaxel's versatility on the defensive end. He can guard 1 through 5 essentially. He's big, he's strong, he has super quick hands. He's a joy to watch on the defensive end. KenPom has Michigan as the number one team in the country with the number one defense, and then they have the number 10 offense. This makes sense. Their defense has been terrific. I mean, holding Auburn to 72 and holding Gonzaga to 61, especially Graham Ike. He only had 1 point, which is just goes to show how good this Michigan defense really is. It's been great all year. They've just been up and down with their offense, but their offense came to play in the last 3 games last week. They're second in the country in rebounds. Makes sense. I think they're the best front court in the whole country. 10th in the country in points per game. 12th in assists, 10th in blocks, holding opponents to 34.4% shooting. That is second in the country. That is so impressive. Being a Power 5 school, playing two ranked teams already, and still having one of the best opponent field goal percentages, especially when you play one of the best front courts in the country in Gonzaga, Braden Huff and Graham Ike. They just make it so hard for teams to make shots. Again, they're second in the country in defensive and field goal percentage, only allowing 34.4%. That's crazy numbers. That's just having people in hell, people in prison. Best front court in the country. I mean, that goes to show you in the rebounds, the defense, the shooting percentage. Dave Mara, 7-3. He doesn't block every shot. He blocks about 3 per game, but he does alter, more shots than that. It's the combination of inside scoring, outside scoring that we saw. They shot the three super well. That not at a sustainable level, but it's improved. The start of the year they really struggled from three. They shot the ball pretty well in this tournament, which is just exciting to see. Trey McKinney was on fire. He's probably the best player off the bench in my eyes. He's just terrific. He brings a lot, brings some good secondary playmaking as well. And then, last reason they're on the rise is that they have the best defense in the country. It's as simple as that. Even if their offense isn't going to show up, their defense travels. So that's Michigan. That's the first team on the rise. Second team, TCU. They were 2-0 last week. Big win against number 10 Florida. They won 84-80, and then they came back and beat Wisconsin 74-63. Here are some stats for them. They're the 15th best defense in the country according to KenPom, and I believe this. Watching that Michigan game a couple weeks ago, they held them to under 70 points, which as we see now is a really good Michigan offense. A top 10 scoring team in the whole country. So super impressive, their defense. They held Florida and Wisconsin to an average of 71.5 points per game. Those teams score a lot of points. They have great offenses. Florida with their front court, Wisconsin, John Blackwell in their backcourt. They forced a ton of turnovers, 19 turnovers against Florida, and they forced 17 turnovers against Wisconsin. This team was picked to finish pretty low in the Big 12. I don't know the exact number, but most of the reports I was doing at the beginning of the season, most of the research I was doing when I was updating my best teams, best players list, didn't have TCU doing very well. and they have shown that they are here to play. They've been terrific so far this whole season, especially last week. That win against Florida is huge. Brock Harding and David Punch are so good. They're so fun to watch. You can tell that this team has a lot of cohesion, a lot of chemistry. David Punch was the best big in the floor in both games he played last week. Brock Harding, just a tough, gritty lead guard who's a great shooter as well. This seems to be tough. This seems to be tough to take down. What they lack in talent, they make up for with chemistry. They make up for with wanting to play with one another, locker room presence, and they bring a toughness. They know who they are, and they're not going to back down from any fight. So this TCU team's super fun to watch. If you'd like to watch grittiness, a dog fight, this TCU team's on the rise. 2 huge wins. Big upset against number 10 Florida last week. The third team on the rise, Kansas. They finished 3-0 at the Players Era tournament. 71-61 against Notre Dame. Then they were won 71-60 against Syracuse. Then they beat a good Tennessee team, 81-76. This Tennessee team is fresh off a win against Houston, who was number 3 at the time. That's going to change in today's AP poll, but Houston's still a top 5 team in my eyes. Tennessee just beat them. They were rolling. Jacoby Gillespie and Nate Ament were on fire. And then they run into this Kansas defense. And this Kansas defense is no joke. I mean, they're holding opponents to very low scoring totals. They're the 9th best defense in the whole country, which is, according to KenPom, which is unbelievable when you think that they don't have Darren Peterson, who's actually a great defender. He's a really good perimeter defender. He's long, he's athletic. They haven't had him. And that just goes to show that this Kansas team is really pulled together as a unit to become, this version of Kansas that we're seeing now, which is good. Great defensively. They lean on their defense and they get enough on the offensive end. Trey White, he's really stepped up in Darren Peterson's absence. 14.4 points on 54% shooting, 43.5 from 3. Badunga, about 16 points, 8 rebounds, and almost 3 blocks per game. He's been really good. I'm sure Kansas fans would have loved to see a little bit more of him last year. I think at times that Kansas is probably better with him than Hunter Dickinson, but he's been really good this season, been showing why he was a breakout star candidate, and he's living up to the hype. Again, their defense, 9th best in the country, and they also have the 29th hardest schedule so far this season. They've played some tough games, but they continue to push forward. I'm really impressed with this team's resiliency. They're going to be great moving forward. Hopefully Darren Peterson can come back soon, and Melvin Council can kind of figure out the shooting questions that he's had so far. Not having great splits, but that is okay. Now, let's talk about the 3 teams who are on the fall, who struggled last week. I think first, you got to start with NC State. Okay, coffee break's over. NC State, first faller. They're 1-2 last week. They're probably pretty easily picked to win the Maui. Maybe Texas was also picked a lot, but they were definitely the favorites. They lose to Texas 97-102. They lose to Seton Hall 74-85. Then they beat a pretty bad Boise State team 81-70. And Darren Williams was bad. He was bad all week. I mean, he only scored 10 against Texas, 16 against Boise State, which is fine, I guess. Not for Darren Williams' sake, but only 12 against Seton Hall. Just not good. This is not the type of production you need from Darren Williams in order to be a top team, a ranked team. They're not going to be ranked anymore as of today when the poll drops, but you need more from your star player. He was picked by me to be an All-American. He was picked by a lot of people to be an All-American. He was picked by a lot of people to win Player of the Year in the conference. So he is just has to be better. Simply said, he has to be better in order for this NC State team to go far at all. They have a 93rd ranked defense according to KenPom. They're just giving up so many points. I mean, you can see it: 102 to Texas, 85 to Seton Hall. Just giving up a lot of points. Seton Hall shot 52% from the field. Not good enough. From NC State. It's supposed to be this tough. Will Wade's supposed to be the gangster of college basketball. Have these tough, gritty teams. They have not shown it. Texas shot 56% from the field and 50% from 3, 16 of 32. Will Wade has kind of a let him shoot method, I should say, and sometimes it doesn't work out. You can see against Texas when they put up 102. You can see against Seton Hall when they put up 85. Might have to go back to the drawing board on that one. There's a couple of memes I saw about about Will Wade. Gotta go back to the drawing board after that weekend because not good at all. After being ranked, people thought they should have been ranked earlier. Then they finally got ranked. Now they have a bad week. They're gonna be unranked for sure. So the perimeter defense has also been terrible. Just guarding the ball. This in general, they give up a ton of points. Trey Holloman hasn't looked great. He's probably regretting more and more his decision to leave MSU, where he would be the perfect backup point guard over there, or even have a shot at that starting shooting guard spot. But Trey Holloman has not looked great. Much like Trey Holloman, his whole career is not a great scorer, not an efficient scorer. But the next team that's on the fall, St. John's. They're in the Players Era tournament. They were 1-2. They lost to number 15 Iowa State, who's probably going to jump a few spots higher than that today. But they lost to them 82-83. They lost to number 21 Auburn, 74-85. And then they beat Baylor 96-81. Courtney Kempom, 30th defense against Auburn. They shot 38% from the field and 28% from three. Had 14 turnovers, had 13 assists. Sellers had 4 points, 107 shooting in 34 minutes. Auburn shot the ball at 55%. And Iowa State, they only shot 43%, got out-rebounded again. This is supposed to be, a big physical St. John's team. Zuby Ejiofor is supposed to be one of the best he's the best offensive rebounder in the country, but one of the best rebounders in the country. But his numbers have dropped quite significantly this year. He's only had about 6.5 rebounds. And the St. John's defense just struggles. They just give up points. Their backcourt's too inconsistent. Sellers has probably been the best backcourt player, I should say. But he has his bad games. Against Iowa State, played horrible. Against Auburn, played horrible. 1 of 7 shooting in 34 minutes. Ian Jackson, again, is just so up and down. And that's what's going to kill this team moving forward, is this backcourt is so up and down. Ejiofor and Bryce Hopkins, you're going to get the same thing from them most nights, around 15 to 17 points, 7 rebounds about, and some tough baskets on the interior. You're going to get that, but you don't know what you're getting from the St. John's backcourt, which has killed them so far this season. And I think Zuby needs to be a little more effective offensively. He has a good shooting percentage. He has good numbers, but 15.5 points per game I don't think's enough. I think he has more than that. I think he's way too talented to take more of a backseat role as some of these other players. I think he needs to demand the ball in the post more, score more, be that Big East preseason player of the year that he was. I think he needs to start taking over a little bit more and show that this is his team. But St. John's is on the down slope, but watch out for them because they have a ton of talent, and if they can figure it out, they'll be fine. But my third team that's trending down is probably trending down the worst, and they're almost looking to have a kind of season from hell. They were 0-3. It's Oregon. Played Auburn in the Players Era tournament, lost 73-84. Against San Diego State, they lost 80-97. Right after San Diego State got smacked by Michigan. And they just lost to Troy. Lost to a bad Creighton team, 66-76. I don't know what's going on with Oregon. Jackson Shelstead, man, he's been bad. He's been so bad. His efficiency is just not going to cut it. They're 85th in KenPom, 98th offense in the country. Evan Mia has them at 67th in the country. Only shooting 40% from the field and 30% from three as a team. Again, a lot of that goes to Jackson Shelstead. He takes a ton of shots and is not making a ton of shots, so their team percentage has dropped because of him. Nate Biddle hurt his ankle, so how is that going to affect them moving forward? He's their best player, I think, by far. He's really what drives his offense. He drives their defense with his shot blocking and his rebounding, but they just have been bad. I mean, Creighton is one of my bad vibes teams, so is Oregon, but losing to that Creighton team is not good, where Josh Dix has played bad. Owen Freeman's not even healthy. Blake Harper's been super inconsistent. They have not been very good at all. And you lose to them, that's just not a great sign. I picked Oregon to be fourth in the Big Ten, maybe fifth in the Big Ten preseason. Not looking like they're going to live up to that. They have a lot of things to figure out. Um, they turn the ball over a ton. They're super inefficient shooting. Uh, Offense, defense looks bad. And again, Shellstead, I'm gonna be hard on him because he's had years to improve and be this, star player that averages 18 a game efficiently, but he has never gotten to that point. I don't think he will get to that point. I don't think he has the efficiency numbers to do so without being just a chucker. But let's get into that next segment. I'm going to cover the best games on Monday and Tuesday. Today, there's really not too many games, but tomorrow there's a stacked slate. So we'll start the Monday games. Again, nothing too big that I really want to cover. If you're bored, I would watch Cincy versus Tarleton State. Tarleton State has Dior Johnson, one of the top 5 scorer in the country. Um, Kind of that internet star with Mikey Williams. So if you want to watch him play, tune in on Monday. He plays Cincy, who's a fun team to watch. I think they have a fun freshman with Shanabov. Or you can watch the nation's leading scorer. Kansas State plays Monday tonight. So give them a watch if you're bored. PJ Haggerty's such a fun guy to watch. But Tuesday, there's a huge college basketball slate. 4 monster games to tune into. And first, we start in the Big Ten. 2 of the best point guards in the country, especially in the Big Ten, facing off. Iowa versus number 11 MSU. Again, I think Michigan State is probably going to be at number 8 or so come the new poll today, but they're number 11 for now. Jamie Furious and Bennett Sturts are 2 of the best point guards in the whole country, especially in the Big Ten. For Iowa and Michigan State. MSU's red hot. They have one of the best defenses in the country. They don't allow many threes to be made or shot, which has been at Sturt's game, as we all know. So I'm really excited to see this matchup between Fierce and Sturts. Sturts is just an offensive engine. Everything runs through him. Think Luka Doncic. Jeremy Fears, bulldog. Defender. He's fantastic. Leads the nation in assists. So what a fun matchup this is going to be. For Iowa, I didn't even realize they don't have anybody that averages more than 10 points per game. They have a guy who's at 10, but nobody else is above 10 points per game, besides Bennett Sturts, I should say. So they don't really have that second scorer. They don't score a ton of points. They're really efficient with their points, but they play kind of a slow game. Just get their shots in the half court. It's usually just Bennett Sturts getting his shots and making his shots. But who's going to step up for Iowa? I think MSU's physicality and their defense is going to win them this game. I think the MSU bigs are really going to dominate. Jackson Kohler, Carson Cooper, Cohen Carr could have a big game too if he gets to the hoop and gets some offensive rebounds. This has a chance to be one of Sturt's worst games, playing the best defensive team he's faced so far, and this is by far the best team Iowa's played so far. They've had a pretty easy schedule up to this point, but he also could shine. He's been only used to shining in these big moments so far, so I would not be surprised if Bennett Sturts did. This is gonna be a slow pace game. It's gonna be a rock fight, but Iowa can win this game if Sturts outduels Fears and Iowa shoots a high percentage from 3, because Michigan State likes to hold teams shooting low percentage. So if Sturts can play better than Fears, and if they can shoot a high percentage, I think Iowa can win this game. But I'm going with Michigan State. But up next is number 10 Florida versus number 4 Duke. Florida had a bad loss to TCU last week. They're looking to bounce back against one of the best teams in the country. Duke's been red hot. This front court matchup is going to be really fun to see. I think Cam Boozer and Patrick Ngangba, the too skilled to lose this matchup. Ruben Shinyulu, Alex Condon, they're really good, but I think Cam Boozer and Patrick Ngangba, too versatile. I think they bring more to the table than those guys do. I think Cam Boozer is playing some of the best basketball in the nation right now. He's definitely a favorite to win Naismith Player of the Year. And Ngangba's been really good defensively, really active, just a great defender. He blocks and alters a ton of shots. So it's going to be tough for Alex Condon to get in a rhythm. Going to be tough for Ruben Shinyulu to get in a rhythm as well against a really big physical front court. But that goes both ways. Cam Boozer has struggled with length. In the past, he's struggled with really big size, and that's exactly what Alex Condon and Ruben Shinulu bring. So really excited for this front court matchup. Um, I think Thomas Howell has a clear edge here. I think he's going to outplay Isaiah Evans. If Evans is guarding him, I think Howell's too strong, too physical, and he's had an awesome season so far. He's been the rock steady guy for Florida. He's been by far their best player. Alex Connon's been good, but Thomas Howell has been terrific this season, I think. Uh, it's matched. Florida's offense be matched by Duke's defense. Duke defense has been number one in the country uh, in terms of shooting percentage. Michigan being number two, as I covered, but they also had the number two ranked defense according to Ken Pom. They're just so physical. They guard their yard. Dame Sarr is really good at defending. Caleb Foster gets in your grill. They just have a bunch of versatile defenders and some really good schemes. John Shire, just a great defensive coach. So it's going to be a lot for this Florida backcourt. I think they could have a chance to play well. I do think Xavier Lee and Boogie Flynn are probably better than Caleb Foster, but he's been on a heater as of late. He's played really well. So there's no reason to think he can't continue to play better than those two because those two have really struggled. Florida can win this game if they dominate the glass and their backcourt has an efficient scoring night. I'm not saying they need 20 points each, from Flynn and Lee, but they need to have an efficient night, take care of the ball, and just get their bigs going. If they can get Thomas Houck going, if they can get Alex Condon going, that's what they need to do the best, and then just hold their own against the rest of Duke's backcourt. But that's on Tuesday as well. Florida versus Duke. Next game is UConn versus Kansas. UConn just beat a really good Illinois team without shooting the ball very good. They kind of had a balanced attack there where Reed only had 2 points and Silas Demerol had 9. Ball had 15, Kierman had 14. Malachi Smith off the bench had 14. Just kind of a balanced attack out of them. Braylon Mullins is finally playing, which is super cool to see. That 5-star freshman for UConn. Really excited to see him play. Kansas has been actually pretty good without Darren Peterson. He only played 2 games, obviously, but he was all the talk preseason. He was, had so much expectations and so much pressure on him to be this fantastic offensive hub for Kansas because they didn't have anybody else, right? But no, he has been, not as missed as we would have thought. Trey White has stepped up in a big way, and their defense has been just incredible. One of the best defenses in the country since he's been out. And he's a great defender, too. There's no knock on him at all. I think this is going to be a super low-scoring game. Both teams have really good defenses, but I don't think Kansas has enough offensive firepower to ultimately pull this one through. I think Melvin Council, he has his struggles with good defenses. I think he may have a lot of turnovers or shoot a bad percentage. It's usually one or the other. Bryson Tiller, freshman, he might struggle against a really veteran-led UConn team and a really good defense. So I don't think they're going to have enough, especially if Terrace Reed plays, where I think he can kind of cancel out Floyd Badunga, so they lose out on that advantage. But Terrace Reed didn't look great last game. Just looked like he was not moving the best. Floyd Badunga really athletic, so he could take advantage of that. I think Kansas wins if he takes advantage of that. If he can get around Terrace Reed, get him in foul trouble, and just dominate that matchup. And then Melvin Council has to be consistent. He has to have, I think, 15 points, 5 assists, and only 2 or less turnovers. So it's a really efficient point guard game. But UConn ultimately has the firepower, with Reed, Demery, Ball, Caravan, Stewart, just so much talent on the offensive end. I think they're ultimately going to win this one. Last game to watch on Tuesday, number 16 UNC versus number 19 Kentucky. UNC got kind of smacked around by MSU last week. Kentucky had a quiet week, only playing 1 game against Tennessee Tech. They won by 50. Pretty easy game for them. Kentucky's right there to being a bad vibes team, right with Creighton, right with Oregon. They're more talented than those teams, obviously, and they're better than those teams. I still think Kentucky's going to make the tournament where these other teams might not even make it. But Ortega always had a weird year. Hasn't been as dominant as everybody thought. He's made some weird comments about his effort levels this season, too. I don't really know what's going on with him or with Kentucky, but they're still injured. Jalen Lowe does not look like he's been healthy at once. Jane Quintain's still waiting on him to get back to start the year. He's going to be such a good addition on that for that defense and even for the offense to have some easy dunks. Um, their bigs haven't had a lot of. They've had some motor issues. I've seen a lot of clips of them just kind of taking plays off, but that is not Jane Quintain. He will not take a single play off. He has such a high motor and high skill set. Kentucky needs to establish who they are. Are they a great 3-point shooting team? Is it Otega Oweh's team? Denzel Aberdeen's probably been their best player, or Colin Chandler. So I don't know who this team is. They don't know who this team is. They need to figure it out. For UNC, they're way more battle tested. Kentucky's in the 320s for easiest schedules in the country. UNC's played a lot of good games this year, but they have to prove they can win one of these ranked games. Kentucky can win this game if Oweh plays hard. With Seth Trimble out, UNC is out of their best defender, their perimeter defender, I should say. Oweh could take advantage of this, but I do think UNC is going to win. I think with Henry Vassar, I think with Caleb Wilson, they're going to have too much in the interior and just outplay that Kentucky interior by a lot. I think Caleb Wilson's one of the best players in the whole country. Vassar's had a really good year too. So I think that it's going to be a really close game. I think it is going to be pretty high scoring, but look for UNC to take that game. But there's a lot of wiggle room. I think there's a lot of teams that could be upset here. I think Kansas has a shot against UConn. I think every team has a shot that has covered Duke against Florida. I think Florida does have a chance if they play good enough on the defensive end, if their bigs play good enough. So, there could be a lot of parity on Tuesday night. Again, 4 really good games that I would keep an eye out if you're a college basketball fan like myself. But those are the biggest games to watch Monday and Tuesday, the biggest risers and fallers. Again, Tuesday's the day to watch. If you're bored on Monday, there's a couple of fun games, but if you're going to watch on Tuesday. Reminder for Wednesday's podcast, I'll be covering the insane Tuesday slate that I just previewed. I'll be recapping it, talking stats, reactions, all that fun stuff. And then we'll be ranking the top 5 players in the country 1 month into the season. We're already at that point. Season started November 3rd. On Wednesday, it's going to be December 3rd. So going to cover the top players so far this season, compare it to my preseason Naismith Player of the Year list, and see how I'm doing so far. I'm not doing that good, I'll be honest. But you guys, my name's Mitch. This is the College Basketball Courtside Podcast. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.